Hello, we are Group D, and in this video we are going to talk about the military relationship between the United States and the Philippines, and how this relationship has been impacted by China's rise. So our main questions, as the slide shows, should the Philippines and US continue to strengthen military ties despite China's protests? Okay, so this video will be broken up into 5 parts. So it's these 5 parts, so I'm responsible for the former 2, and these 3 will be taken over by my crew members. So let's just dive into the first parts. Okay, so the first part was historical contents. Okay, so in this part we're going to briefly talk about the US and the Philippines military relations and their region policy. So in the first era, from 1898 to 1946, basically the Philippines hasn't independence yet. They're still colonized by other countries or still be ruled by other countries. So at first it was colonized by the Spanish, then was American, and in 1901 to 1935 they got insular governments by the American, and during the World War II they were ruled by the Japanese. But in the second era, after the World War II ends, they finally got independence, and that was the big improvement to their countries. So in the third era, Marcos era, while we independently talk about Marcos was the president and basically a dictator, and he actually declared the martial law and a lot of scandals with him when he was doing the president. And in 1986, he was exiled by the People Power Revolution. So let's go into the fourth era, and also the era that's the Philippines present now. So they built the Fifth Republic government and have a lot of new president was elected, and the most recent 3 presidents have a widely differing diplomacy strategy. Some of them close to the America, some of them close to the China, and the most recent one, the Marcos Jr., tried to find a balance between these 2 global powers. So in the second part of the video, we're going to talk about the China's protests and territorial claims, and why it impacts the Philippines and the US relationship. So to talk about the China's impact, we have to talk about China's rise. So in the past 60 years, China have a huge economic growth and make it a powerful global power. So they got power, and China have a lot of expansion ambition. They have built 10 artificial island based in South China Sea, and they also have some competition with Philippines on their territories. So we're going to the territory claims, and these 2 territorial was Spratly Islands and Scarborough Shoal. So these 2 territory was Philippines territorial in past times, but in the first Spratly Islands in 2019, it was reported that Chinese ships entered this island and harvesting the endangered fishes that was protected by the Philippines government, and that was really disrespect with the Philippines government, and shows that the China's was not that friendly as they claimed. And the Scarborough Shoal was even worse. The China attempted to occupy this shoal, and basically they have success. Now it was currently in China's possession. So because of that, Philippines may have some arguments with China, and maybe makes them become more concerned about China's ambition of expanding. So, besides of the Philippines, China also got a lot of arguments with its neighbors in the South China Sea, like Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, and Taiwan. But why China wants the South China Sea territorial expanding so much? Because that the South China Sea is the area full of a lot of resources and can make a lot of money. And also, China was strictly following the exclusive economic zone. That makes you have larger territory. You can make larger uh, range to explore, to exploit, and to manage. And this make you can make a lot of money and have greater impact, greater power to in this region. And that's the U.S. and its ally doesn't want to see. So that's why China's rise will impact the Philippines and the U.S. relations. There's a third topic: benefits of strengthening military ties. Okay, so to talk about this topic, we will first talk about the increased U.S. military presence in the Philippines. So, in 1951 and 2014 and 1998, they both sides signed three about the military agreements, and especially the 1998 the visiting forces agreements and 2014's enhanced defense cooperating agreements. This makes the American Army can entering the Philippines and use the Philippines military base, like the second one we're going to talk about. In this year, in February, the Philippines gave the U.S. the right to use 4 military bases, and for 2014, the U.S. have already can use 5 military bases from the EDCA, and that was quite a lot of amounts. And so, inside of these two was the help from the U.S. The U.S. also helped the Philippines to train their own armies, like the Black Hand in 1991. They have do this for a long time, of course not always, but it was that for a quite long time. So why they do that? Because they have concern about the China's threats. So from the U.S. side, they have to prevent China from controlling the first island strait. So like this, they make this trend to prevent the communist power from expanding. So from the Philippine side, getting help from the U.S. so China cannot easily emphasize its territory like China have done in recent years. Well, that's quite benefit to others, for both.
Now, part 4 is the potential challenges and risk. Strengthening military ties between the Philippines and other countries, especially if it is perceived as a direct response to China's protests, can escalate tensions between the two nations. China may view such actions as proactive and may respond with increased military presence or aggressive rhetoric, leading to a potential spiral of tensions. Also, China is a major trading partner and investor in the Philippines. Strengthening military ties with other countries could potentially strain economic relations with China. China may retaliate economically by imposing trade restrictions, tariffs, or reducing investments, which could adversely impact the Philippines' economy. The Philippines is situated in a geopolitically sensitive region. Any increase in military activities or alliances can impact regional stability and security dynamics. Neighboring countries, particularly those with existing territorial disputes with China, may view the strengthened military ties with concern, potentially leading to a regional arms race or further escalating tensions. Moreover, strengthening military ties against China's protests may strain diplomatic relations between the Philippines and China. It could lead to deterioration in bilateral cooperation or various issues, such as trade, infrastructure projects, or people-to-people exchanges. This could limit the Philippines' ability to address shared challenges and pursue mutually beneficial goals. The Philippines can maintain open channels of communication with China to address concerns and explain the rationale behind strengthening military ties. By engaging in constructive dialogue, both countries may be able to find common ground and prevent misunderstandings that could escalate tensions. Instead of strengthening military ties with a single country, the Philippines could consider engaging in multilateral frameworks or regional security arrangements. This approach would help balance the power dynamics and reduce perception of being allied against China specifically. Regional forums like the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, also known as ASEAN, can provide avenues for dialogue and conflict resolution. The Philippines can focus on enhancing non-military aspects of its relationships with other countries. This could involve strengthening economic ties, promoting cultural exchanges, and expanding cooperation in areas such as education, tourism, and technology. By emphasizing the mutual benefits of cooperation, the Philippines can demonstrate its commitment to peaceful and constructive engagement. Besides, the Philippines can assert its commitment to an independent foreign policy that prioritizes national interests and regional stability. By clearly articulating its intention and strategic objectives, the Philippines can reduce the perception of being swayed solely by external influences. This can help maintain the country's credibility and autonomy in its decision-making process. It is important for the Philippines to carefully assess the potential economic and diplomatic consequences of strengthening military ties and make informed decisions that balance national security, economic interests, and regional stability. Now, Part 5, the conclusion. The U.S. and the Philippines have a cooperative history that has developed into a strong partnership over the past century. Maintaining a close military relationship will ideally increase Philippine security and territorial integrity, both of which China has attempted to weaken in the past 2 decades through conflict in the South China Sea. On the other hand, the Philippines risks agitating China and getting dragged into a clash between them and the U.S. Another major fear of Philippine citizens is that a heavy reliance on the U.S. for military support will open the Philippines up to be controlled and manipulated for U.S. interests. And of course, as China repeatedly claims in its protest to the continued military cooperation, they risk disrupting peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific. So, should the Philippines and the U.S. continue to strengthen military ties despite China's protests? All things considered, we ultimately believe